Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Vine Connects with your host, Melissa. And here with me today, I have
Denize,
Shekinah,
Yesi.
And we are continuing our topic of impartation. However, today we're going to talk about unholy impartation. Got the shivers. So before though, ladies, what are you, or like it's the last episode of October. That means we're officially heading into the holidays. So what are you ladies looking forward to the most?
food.
I was waiting for you.
My dad's turkey.
Ooh.
I can't.
Tell us about it. Tell the viewers.
Tell
why
the
it's
viewers.
such
We
a
do
thing.
it Mexican style. I don't know if that's the right word, but we deep fry it in the caso. So the way that you would make carnitas, like pork carnitas, you make it, but with the turkey. Emma the other day is like, Mom, is Grandpa gonna come and make us turkey for Thanksgiving? Like, it's such a staple. It is so good. It's crispy, it's tender, it's
Yum.
juicy. You add lemon, you add salt,
All
you
right.
add like
She's crying now.
you add
Little tear.
tomatoes, you do onions, and it's just a party in your mouth.
That sounds really good.
That sounds so
It's so good, guys.
Coming
yes,
over.
yes.
But,
Oh, and did I say lemon? Like, do
Yes.
lots of lemon? Oof, guys,
Lots of it.
if you haven't done it, I know some people deep fry it, right? Like they just put no.
It's
no,
not that.
no.
That's
It's
what I
not-
pictured.
It's deep fried, but it's deep fried in lard. But my dad, it's a 2-day process.
Oh my goodness.
So he cuts it up, he cleans it, he like browns it one day, and then the next day he fully cooks it.
Oh.
Your life will never be the same.
Do you guys
So
use
we're all
those
going over to
carnitas?
Denize's.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
we do. We do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You have some of the furries.
Oh
There
yeah,
you
from our little plant here, it's blessing you.
She is one.
It's fine.
She is
I'm
one.
becoming the plant.
That's why she has such a great eye for these things. Okay. What about you ladies? What are you looking forward to?
I mean, the food, yes, absolutely. Family time.
Yeah.
I love getting together with my family. My parents, every Thanksgiving, they open up their home to whoever wants to come. But like Thanksgiving, that's my mom's day. You don't touch it. It's my mom and my dad, but like my mom just takes over. And same thing, my dad just like he marinates that turkey. It's a multiple day process. My mom is cooking everything from scratch. Like my mom is not a cook. Well, she says she's not a cook. She's an amazing cook. She just doesn't cook. But she saves up all that energy, all that goodness for that one day of the year. And it's just, you get all my mom's home cooking, everything from scratch. It's just, it's so good. It's so awesome. And yeah, I look forward to my mom's cooking every year because it's just like the one time of year she'll cook. But it's so good.
Save me a plate.
I know, dude, honestly, it's so good. And I just love that they open up their home. It's been that way since I was a kid. Our doors open. If you want to come by, if you want to have multiple Thanksgivings, if you don't have a Thanksgiving to go join my parents' home, guys, that's the one to join. It's just their doors open. It's not just restricted to family members. It's for anybody and everybody.
And I remember last year I showed up like around 10.
Yeah,
You guys were
and
just
we have
watching
people
us.
come in and out of the door like throughout the whole day.
That's
You know,
so
they'll
great.
spend time with their family and then they'll come visit or, you know, whatever it is. And so it's every year it's somebody different. Every year we have different guests, but I absolutely love it. It's just great.
It's good.
That's beautiful.
Yesi?
I have my house decorated for fall right now.
Already? Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Well, because it's October.
Oh yeah.
She's in the future.
I'm sorry.
Get with it.
I'm not good out for this.
Yeah. But I have like a bunch of totes full of Christmas stuff that I wasn't able to decorate my house with last year, and I had purchased it the year before, right? Like bags and bags of Christmas.
What?
I'm still
sorry.
stuck on that already, and it's true. It's October 31st. Like
you're wearing a sweater.
I'm literally wearing a sweater. I literally have a moon tan. I'm sorry. That was my fault. Go ahead. I just needed to get that out.
Like you literally just had your pumpkin spice.
Literally. I'm sitting on a pumpkin right now, actually.
Should we start that over?
No, it's great. It's fine. Go ahead.
So I have a bunch of totes full of Christmas bags that I haven't even like opened because I bought them on sale, and last year I moved into my house, but we lived in the back house, so we definitely did not decorate for Christmas at all. It didn't feel like the holidays. Like I left my house to feel all cozy and, you know, Christmassy. So this year is going to be the first year I'm going to be able to decorate our new house and actually use those items I bought on sale, right?
So cool.
And my daughter is more alert because now that she's 2, she knows everything and she likes to help decorate and she knows what things are. So I'm just so excited for her to help me like decorate the tree. And hopefully I don't get stressed out, but I like it a certain way. So I have a smaller tree that's going to be her tree. So I can decorate it more like kidsy. And if she plays with it or whatever, I'm fine. Like she gets her own little time.
Yeah. Smart.
So I'm excited for that. And then I'm also excited for just the holiday times. Like it's always like on the run, right? Like you're always on the run, like you're going here to this event, but it's just so fun. And like the weather,
Sweater weather. I already bought 2 vests.
Look at this
Vests?
For at Costco for my like winter outfits.
Girl.
I'm ready.
Wow.
ready.
Well, we're already here.
I
So.
said winter, not fall.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, you're right. You're ready. Okay. What I'm looking forward to, of course, all of those things, but obviously the weather. I just love cold. I love. I'm enjoying it right now. I'm enjoying it right now. I love hiding with sweaters. I love being cozy with sweaters and just the vibe, like all the way around. There's just peace in the air. So looking forward to that. I'm very excited.
Doing your Christmas drives to see the Christmas lights.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
With your little drink in the hand.
Dude, I
So
warn
cute.
people. I'm like, guys, I just want you to know I'm Elf. I'm Will Ferrell's Elf during Christmas. Like, and I know that Yesi matches that. So I'm just like, we come in our Christmas outfits. I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be so good.
The last 2 winters I was in Ohio, so I think this is going to be like the first one that I'm actually here. So it should be, because you said Christmas lights. We would love doing Christmas lights in Ohio. I miss
I'm sure.
Ohio.
Just fly out to Ohio for that.
I know. I'm coming, Ohio.
Okay, so the dating question. I feel like he's too close with his mom. Am I the problem? So what is too close? Let's define
Could this
that.
be just for the guy, or she is too close to her mom?
I think that
Just
can
the
work too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can go either way, but I think it's more obvious when it's a man. You know, a man is supposed to be the more independent one, the one that goes out there, and so I feel like there's a lot more leniency when a woman is dependent on her parents. You know, but when a man is extremely dependent on his parents, that it just shows, and it just shows to me. It just shows a lack of maturity and the ability to go out and take care of himself, if that makes sense. So I think that's definitely a red flag. But I think everyone has a different definition of too close. Like you said,
Yeah.
like what is too close?
Yeah, because there's different situations. Like the man can be taking care of his elderly mom or
Yeah.
something, you know? I think, let's just say in this scenario, that they put their mother's wishes or whatever up on a pedestal,
Yes.
and not take you into consideration. I think you are definitely not the problem. I think he's the problem. I think she's the problem. But I think if they're able to have like a place where he's able to be like, you know, this is my girlfriend or fiance or wife, like whatever she says goes, mom. And I'm going to stick by her side.
Yeah.
And he loves her and he's close to her, but he's like, I give her place before that. I don't think that's the problem.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think there's like, it's relative, right? Closeness is like relative. But I think, when you're putting your mother's, we're talking about pre-marriage,
Technically dating question,
dating. I think it's a good indicator of what it will be like when you're married.
Yeah.
Right? Because basically how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I find it that men that are very clingy to their moms before they're married tend to still be very clingy with their moms even after they're married. I'm just currently walking a woman or helping a woman who's in that situation, you know, where her and her kids' needs are not being put before like the mother-in-law's.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And
tough.
and when we ask like, oh, has he always been like that? It's like, oh yeah. So it's like, oh,
You agree to that.
you
Yeah.
kind of
Agree
agree
to
to
it,
that, you know? And a lot of women think, oh, well, it was because I saw that he was so good with his mom. And to some degree, yeah, like they would thought that he was going to be that good with
them.
But it's like it's
I think I think it's a good indicator if he brings you into the relationship, right? Because then there'll be a smooth transition from the closeness with the mom, because it makes sense. I think it can make sense when they're close with their mom, when they're single, or like, you know, that bachelor life.
Absolutely.
But once you start getting serious and he starts connecting both of you together and there's a good jiving between you and the mom,
that's good.
I think that can also be an indicator. It's like, okay, like he's not trying to keep one above the other, which obviously we know that when you get married, your wife is going to be the one that takes precedent. But if he tries to create like that unity where the mom doesn't feel like, oh, my son,
like you're bridging them.
Yeah, you're bridging them. I think that is a good indicator. But also, I think too close would be that, right? When he's like, well, like I'd rather spend time with my mom than with you. Then it's like,
or let me call my mommy if I have to do that.
I would say that a man isn't ready to be married if mom is still doing his laundry and cooking all of his meals, and pretty much still taking care of him as if paying all of his bills. Yes, that's a big one, paying all of his bills and taking care of him. You know, if he's in that kind of relationship with his mom still, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but he's definitely not ready for marriage. He's not mature enough for marriage if he can't, or is not willing to do those things on his own, because then you'll be in comparison to that. Well, that's not how my mom did it. That's not how my mom cooked it. That's not how, you know, and it's definitely, or he just doesn't do anything around the house at all and expects you to play the role of mom, which is a really perverted, yucky situation that you don't want to step into. And so I think that's a good indication of, okay, what is too close? Too close, I personally would say, is mom still making all of his decisions? Is mom still paying his bills? Is mom still doing his laundry and cooking all of his meals? That I would say is too close, and as an adult man, you should definitely stay away from that.
Yeah.
And I think the reverse for women too. I think that again, I don't think that a woman living at home or even a man living at home until they get married, is there's anything wrong with that. But what does their independent lifestyle look like? And are they helping around the house? Are they helping pay the bills? Are they supporting themselves?
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be a follow-up question, because it's like you said, you know, that there's more leniency on the woman depending on her parents. But it's true. Like I've seen that, and I've seen like a lack of reliability with that, I think, because and it depends on age, right? It depends on age, because if you're like 18, 19, 20, understandable, whatever. But when you become older, like I've literally seen this play out, how that shows you that, because obviously you would like to marry somebody that's resourceful, right? Somebody that is able to get out and do this and do the things. But if it comes to a certain age and there's still a lack of independence, then it's just like, can they build a home? You know what I mean?
Build a home, and are you going to be the one supporting them?
Yeah. There's a difference between taking care of and building with. If that kind of ties it up. I don't know.
That was a great question.
It was a great question. Thanks, Shekinah. You brought the thunder.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so with that, today is obviously Halloween. And so you've seen the spooky decorations, and you've probably been in the debates with your Christian friends whether you should be celebrating Halloween or not. And you're just like, well, my intentions of the heart are not this or not that, blah, blah, blah. And so today, we've come to be the final authority. No, I'm kidding.
Dun, dun, dun.
We've come to give you our opinion on celebrating Halloween, because, you know, we've been talking about impartation. And there is such thing as unholy impartation. And so with that being said, girls, do you think that Christians should celebrate Halloween? Or maybe I shouldn't say should. Do you think it's okay for Christians to celebrate Halloween?
No.
No.
Why?
As a whole, no.
Why?
No.
Why?
Because it's real. It really is real. Like
demonic is real.
Yeah, people wear costumes and celebrate looking like witches and ghosts and goblins. And all of that is real. And if they really knew what the witches do, especially out here in the AV, you know, people really wouldn't do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And when I used to hike by my old house, I remember it was around this time, and there was a lady who claimed to be Christian, but she was at the very top, and it was like witchcraft up there. Like she had all these spooky stuff, like doing things and saying, you know, whatever she was saying, and, you know, yelling at my mom and I, manifesting. And I'm like, this is one of those witches, you know, that goes to the high places. And it's just really sad. And I know some of us like to mask it with like, well, the kids, you know, dress up. I might get hate from some people who celebrate it, but it's more real than you think. So you having your children dress up that way, they're gonna be opening doors and gateways to what's in the atmosphere, in the environment. And I don't think that your kids should be there either.
Or they become desensitized.
Yeah.
They become desensitized to what the demonic is.
With candy, of course, anybody can.
They like, it's kids at that age, their brain is like action reward, right? So I'm going trick-or-treating, I'm celebrating demonic, but I get a reward of candy. So you're, in essence, not only tricking, but you're desensitizing your children to the very spiritual world that there is out there.
Yeah.
And even with that, like, I know somebody that rescues cats. And so during Halloween time, they don't like let people adopt black cats because they kill them.
Oh my god.
And so you have to be very careful with the black cats during Halloween, like October time. And when they first told me, I was like, dude, you're kidding. They're like, no, like, it's a really real thing out here. Like, they literally try to get black cats to do whatever it is that they do. And so that's kind of scary. Like you said, it's crazy. Like, if people really realized what it was, like, there's nothing like, I don't want to say it. What's the word? There's nothing good about pretending in Halloween, like, at all.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people want to open up that portal.
Right. For the sake of one night, for the sake of quote unquote.
Well, it's like the feeling of it, of the season, right? Because I know for myself, like, Hocus Pocus was like always on my TV growing up.
I used to love that movie. I'm not gonna
I love that movie. And then now it's like, just even knowing like the Hocus Pocus 2 came out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even watch it. Like, it's not the same now that you know the reality in it. Yeah. And it kind of makes you like even try to teach your children that, like, even going to Home Depot right now at this season isn't the same. No. Like, you have to like teach your child, like, those are not good things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my birthday's near Halloween, so I threw Halloween parties. Like, I was known for, I threw some awesome Halloween parties, right? Because I didn't know better.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? So now it's like I've had to reshift my whole birthday celebrations from, and it sucks because wherever I go, everything's Halloween, right? And even with the girls, like, we really try our best not to go to a lot of places during Halloween time, unfortunately, because my girls are not desensitized to the demonic realm. Because I've always been extra strict with, we don't celebrate Halloween, we don't tolerate witches, I'm that parent that's extra, and I'm okay because I know that as they grow older, like, the world is going to try to, like, desensitize them or whatever, and that's what the world's going to do. But if I am extra strict in that area, at least they'll be self-aware, right? And they are. And so because they are not desensitized, I don't even have to say anything. We can pass by a psychic's house and they'll tell me, Mom, that's a witch's house. They'll know. Yeah. But it's because I've cultivated hey, there's a very real demonic realm. The devil is real and God is real. Like, both of these beings exist. What are we going to do? Right? Yeah. So it's cultivating that, teaching that. And if you waver at all, you mess with their mind because they're so malleable. They're so young and they don't understand concrete and abstract thinking. It's like a very real thing, right? Like, they're concrete thinkers at this small age. I have a 7, a 6, and a 5-year-old. So they're concrete, like, it's black and white. That's it. So if we introduce gray, then you just mess them up.
Yeah. No, and I grew up in a home. Yeah. My parents wavered a lot. There was some years that we celebrated Halloween. The next year it was like evil, demonic. We weren't allowed to celebrate it. And then the next year they'd be like, well, we can do this. And we actually wavered on it a lot growing up throughout my entire childhood. It was some years it was absolutely okay. Some years it wasn't.
Like the
some
trunk
years
or treats,
okay.
huh?
Yeah. Well, and we did a lot of church harvest festivals. Yeah. And so that was like definitely something that we did. And so, but one thing my parents always taught me growing up, like, look it up. That's my dad's motto. Look it up. Even as we were growing up, look it up, and determine, like, just and read for yourself what it is. Like, we have our rules, we have our strict rules, but as far as developing your own conscience about it, look it up. And so even like Harry Potter, I wasn't allowed to watch Harry Potter growing up, and I still haven't watched it because my parents always told me, look it up. And so I did. And when I found out that the spells that they're using in this movie are real life spells that witches use and that utilize, repeating those things, listening to those things, it is opening the door to the demonic. It's not just a cute movie. It's actual spells that are being used. And then I found out that even Charmed, I've always had a conviction with Charmed. Like, my friends watched it in college and I could not give it a chance. And when I looked it up, they're using real life spells. They're actually using like legitimate, to the point where the writer admitted in an interview that witches would contact them and tell them, you're playing with fire. If you don't know what you're doing, you should not be using these things. Like, they had witches telling them and warning them, you are playing a very dangerous game. And they like laughed it off because it was just whatever, you know? But they're sharing this in an interview like it's funny. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, you know? And so we have to be careful about what we watch, what we read, and what we engage in. And when we, again, look it up, you can see that Halloween is just, it's pulled from so many different cultures, but the root of most of these cultures, and that is pulled from, is the Day of the Dead.
Right.
A lot of cultures celebrate the Day of the Dead. Yeah. So when we all migrated over to America, we kind of meshed all of our cultures, all of our, you know, beliefs and our religions and our traditions together. You know, so there is aspects of it that are just, we're celebrating the harvest time, and those are aspects of it that weren't really rooted in any kind of witchcraft or you know, wickedness. But it got meshed in with all of this Day of the Dead stuff because it was just, it all fell around the same time of the year. It was all different cultures. Let's just put it together. So we're celebrating the harvest, and we're also celebrating dead people. And we're just going to mesh it all together, and we're going to form it into this one big cultural American thing, you know? And so it's so easy to, I know that I have personally just picked apart, well, this part is okay, this part isn't. Right. This part is okay, this part isn't. Because I like went into like heavy like research of it. And like I've been in so many debates with Christians trying to debate like, well, it's okay if I do this aspect, but not this aspect. This aspect's okay, but not this aspect. And you start to form a gray area. Right. And especially for our children, they don't understand that gray area. It's either all or nothing. And witches really do love this holiday. I've grown up, we had witches in our church, saved, former witches, but growing up, that's what they taught us. And they were like, we love Halloween. Yeah. We loved, right? Yeah. They were saved at the time, but we loved Halloween. That was a time for us to really thrive. That was a time where people were the most desensitized, and we can do our work. So it is something that we do have to be so careful about as Christians, because it's not just dressing up. It's not just about candy. It's not about just this cute holiday that we can come together on. It's about really being aware that anyone who operates in the demonic is really thriving on that day, because you're desensitized by the lights and the fun and the colors and the dressing up, and they get to do their work. And so I would highly suggest and highly recommend that every Christian just do not celebrate Halloween. Utilize that as a day to minister, as a day to pray, as a day to cover your children, and form different traditions. Thank you. Traditions that are completely outside of Halloween, so they could still have fun, but in a way that's not in any way associated with it.
Yeah, and I think even within ourselves and even with children, it's like, you know, a lot of parents do like the Festival of Lights, the pumpkin things, because they don't want their kids to feel like they're missing out on something. But why not? Like, they're missing out on demonic stuff. Yeah. So if you teach them that it's not that they're missing out on, but instead they're gaining something, right? Then that's different. It's all the perspective shift. And moreover, like, if you're sitting here, right, and you're like, should I not? But this and this and that. It's like, bro. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, it's like, first and foremost, you know, a lot of people, they rely on that scripture, and I would 100% wholeheartedly agree with 1 Thessalonians 5:22, where it says, abstain from all appearance of evil, right? Yes. So, but honestly, that can be portrayed in so many different ways, down to what we watch, whether it be Halloween stuff or not Halloween stuff. Like, it's things like that, right? So as Christians, we got to be like that across the board, right? Because we can't just be like, oh, for Halloween, we're going to rely on this scripture and like hit people over the head with it, but not live our entire lives like that. That's not fair either, you know? But at the end of the day, I think if you're really sitting here splitting hairs about it, I'm going to tell you what, one of the things that my mentor tells me, she's like, well, just go with the side of caution and just make it a no. Like, if you're having doubts about it, just make it a no. Like, dedicate that day onto the Lord. Even if you don't go out and if you don't go ministering, then be like, you know what, God, today I'm going to spend a day and I'm going to rejoice with you and I'm going to pray with you, or I'm just going to be at home with my family and I'm going to make it a thing to just be purposeful in connecting with you. And if you're not able to give up one day for the Lord, hello.
Yeah.
Then there's a deeper root there, right, that needs to be acknowledged. And so if you're sitting here like, you know, because as Christians and in our human design, I don't know why it is that we try to get away with as much as possible. Yeah. And I remember with Denize, she actually brought me conviction one day because we were talking about like about the pumpkin patches and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, well, you know, like, what about that? You know, and then you were like, because if it's confusing for my kids to associate the demonic in one realm, but then tell them that they can celebrate it in another realm. Right. And I was like, oh, that's really good. Yeah. And so it's true, right? Because, and again, it's hard, right? Because we can't just follow that train of thought in one thing. Like, we got to do it in the whole thing. And so for my fellow Christians, what I would like to encourage you guys, because I've also seen this, and this is such a folly that we do, and on Facebook, on Instagram, and all these things, what happens is that we start getting super religious when it comes to this. And I get it. Like, there's this level of intolerance that has to be against the demonic realm, but not against people. Like, there has to be grace and there has to be conversations, right? It's the reason why we're having this episode, because it's like, hey, you know what, like, if you're struggling with it, out of this, like, the Bible tells you up and down to warn people, right? Like, don't open these gates, don't open these things, like, don't make yourself susceptible to them. Because the thing about the demonic realm is, it's like, oh, you guys, it's only for Halloween that they're allowing us to do this. Like, the demonic realm, as soon as you allowed it a foothold, it's gonna take the entire enchilada. Okay, they're not just gonna go in for a bite. And so it's just like, you know, like, you gotta get to this place, and to your own conviction, whatever, at the end of the day, how you interpret the Bible, it's how you interpret the Bible. And I'm not, and I don't even necessarily think that it's like one of those things like you're gonna go to hell for it, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, like, what kind of boundaries, what kind of setups, what kind of standards do you want to have, right? Like, if one of my Christian friends decides to want to celebrate Halloween, that sucks. I'm not gonna partake with you, but you know, I'm still your friend and I still love you, like.
For sure. Like, I have mom friends that will take their kids to a pumpkin patch. It's cool. I'm not going to
went to a pumpkin patch.
Yeah.
I go to pumpkin patches, but it's not Halloween.
Yeah.
Like, it's more,
it's fall.
And it's it's preference, I guess.
And I don't go on Halloween.
That's.
But that's not something that I do with my kids. You know what I mean? Like, when we drive by down like the L, they know. In the beginning, when they first saw it, they were like, oh my gosh, Mom, can I go? And I'm like, unfortunately, we can't, girls. There's Halloween stuff, you know, we don't celebrate. They're like, oh yeah, because that's of the devil and it's witches. And I'm like, yeah. So here you have 3 kids that would love to go to jumpy houses, right? But every time we drive by there now, they know we're going to pray. We're going to rebuke it. We're going to da-da-da-da-da, because they know, hey, this is demonic. So they have come to a realization at their age that I don't care how fun it looks. If there's any demonic attached to it, I want no part in it. And that's my goal with my kids, is to teach them concepts so they can critically think for themselves and be able to equate one thing with the other. I don't just tell them no for the sake of it. I teach them why. And so now they're able to correlate it. Oh, it might be fun, cool, but you know what? It's not worth it if there's a witch associated to it. And I say witch because that's what they understand at this age, you know? And even, I'm not saying that I won't get a pumpkin at home and like try to make a pumpkin pie or whatever, you know, like we do that. But they know. Yeah. So now they know, like, if there's 2 pumpkins and one's carved, and they're like, oh, that's a jack-o'-lantern, that's Halloween, but we can have a pumpkin that's not carved. So they're able to that degree, like, differentiate between the two.
And it's because of your consistency. And for our listeners, as just, I want to point out that it's so much more difficult to make the change when you've already been celebrating it, especially if you have kids. Yeah. And I say that from personal experience because, like I said, my parents went back and forth for so many years. In fact, when I say back and forth for so many years, I don't think they finally settled on like a real legitimate, okay, we're done completely, until I was a teenager. And by then I had developed, like, my friends all went out. I went out with my friends. I loved Halloween Horror Nights. Like, I loved that. Yeah. Like, I loved going. And so especially when you're a kid, my parents trying to tell me we don't celebrate Halloween anymore. And I was like, okay, you don't celebrate Halloween anymore. I celebrate Halloween. You know, and that was definitely something that, you know, looking back on it, I was not a rebellious kid, but for some reason, Halloween, I was just like, no, like, this is fun. This is a time for me and my friends. This is a time for me to go out and get candy. Like, I'm still short enough. I can get extra.
You can. You still can. Like,
I still can. Hey, even as an adult in college, I would just go put on a random, like, just a cheap costume, something I can quickly make, and I would just go through the neighborhood around my college and just get free candy, and my friends loved me for it.
Week.
Yeah, exactly. It was food for the week, you know. So, but what I'm trying to say is that I recognize that if you've been celebrating it, especially if you have kids who have developed the habit of celebrating it, you have traditions, you have friends, they have friends that are trying to push them and encourage them into it. Just follow your conviction. At the end of the day, repent, follow your conviction. And I'm not saying that your teenager is going to fall in line. They might not. But at the end of the day, the best thing you can be at that point is an example. And that's what my parents were for me, is at that point, they were an example. Because believe it or not, they didn't even stop me from going out with my friends, so long as it was at least at a church. You know what I mean? At least you're going to a church. At least they're good Christian friends. But at that point, it was just, but it wasn't until they started leading by example, because they stopped wavering. They finally settled on, this is what we're doing. They started just leading by example, and they again, look it up. That's all we're going to say. Just look it up. And so maybe even as a family, especially if you have young kids, instead of celebrating, why don't we learn the history of it? You know what I mean? And you guys can just go through the history of it. And I think there's a History Channel documentary about it too, you know, that gives a lot of light up to the wickedness that is just rooted in.
It's mainly invoking spirits.
Exactly. So I think, you know, I want to talk to people who just have kids. And it's going to be difficult to get your kids to transition out of that mindset more than anything, because it's for them, it's fun. So how do you do that? I think just start taking things away and teaching them. Don't just take it away and like just you're the mean parent that just took away our fun. But really implement the teaching aspect. Learn it for yourself and teach your kids.
Yeah, that's really good.
And if it's one thing that I know about the Lord is that the Holy Spirit will do a work in your hearts.
Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit is co-parent, right? He is the parent. And so it's just like if you commend yourself to the Holy Ghost, the Lord will also partner up with you to change the heart of your kids. I've heard countless testimonies about that. Actually, Isaiah 54 says that the Lord would teach your children. And so you hang on to that scripture. That's as really you are trying to change traditions. And also you are the child of the Lord. So ask the Lord to peel back the layer, and he will. The Lord loves to expose the demonic realm. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
He loves to give us eyes to see and ears to hear. So don't shy away. Don't hide from the Lord. Bring it to the Lord, and he will, of course, allow you and empower you and give you the grace and the mercy to be able to honor him. Are you freaking kidding me? That's what he loves to do.
Yeah.
He gives us the power to love him. All right. So with that being said, the tip of the week this week is, take it away, Yes.
Since tomorrow will be November 1st,
Oof.
how about you find what you're thankful for this year and really embrace it?
Yes.
So whether it's family, friends, your work, obviously Jesus, but really embrace it, live it out, especially this month.
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
love it. That's a really good one. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Let us know your thoughts. We know that it's a bit controversial.
Tad bit.
Just a tad bit. But we actually do hope that we ruffled up some feathers and that we start up a conversation because, I mean, hello.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think, and we hope that you have a blessed Thursday and that you take the week tip into action. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you like this episode or we answered any of your questions, or you have a question you would like discussed in future episodes, let us know in the comments or share on social media at inthevine.connects. And be sure to hit subscribe so you won't miss out on the amazing content and guests we have lined up for you. To find out about our upcoming events and more, please visit our website at www.inthevine.org.